guests and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solution Info Show. I'm Marcia Teal, your host, and I'm so glad that you could join us for this evening's program. It is always a pleasure to bring to caregivers information and things that they can use in their caregiving journey, because caregiving is not an easy job, to say the least. People don't prepare for it. They never think they're going to need it. Most times we're just thrown into that role. And so it is something that people need to be aware of and get that knowledge and get that help, because you can't do it alone. It's a journey, and it takes a step after step after step, learning along the way. Caregivers helping caregivers, professionals helping caregivers. And this format was designed just for you, the family caregiver, so we can bring you expertise of people that are in the field as professionals that have information that caregivers need to know about. So that includes elder law attorneys, that includes social workers, geriatric care managers, nurses, doctors, researchers, even other caregivers, and sometimes even the person who's suffering with Alzheimer's has been on this program to let us see from their perspective what's going on with them. So today we're going to be talking about grief. Grief is something that caregivers sometimes don't expect, and they think that it's just going to be at the end of their caregiving days, but grief can come pretty much any time. And it's a topic that we really need to talk more about. Caregivers actually need to prepare for that grief, to understand their feelings, what they're going through. So we have a special guest today that's going to delve into that topic and talk about grief, the subject of grief, the stages of grief, and dementia. Now, my guest has really a lot of knowledge, book knowledge, experience, and hands-on, because she not only is a dementia coach, she has a PhD, she's an author, she's a speaker, she's a coach, she's a caregiver for a loved one, a family caregiver. So she knows what she's talking about. She's been in the shoes of caregiver. She's walking that walk with you. She's talking that talk. And she spends her life helping other caregivers. As she goes along her caregiving journey, she's bringing light and life into other caregivers to help them also. She's also written two books. These two books that she's written, one is called The Graceful Alzheimer's Care, A Church's Call to Action, and the other one is Feathering Your Nest, Creating a Blueprint for Comfort. And so we are so excited to have Dr. Kate, as we call her, Dr. Kate McCarty, PhD, Dr. Kate for short, to join us today on the show. I'm going to welcome Dr. Kate. Are you there?
Here. Thank you, Marcia. What a great introduction.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here with us. This is not your first time. We enjoy having you periodically because you have so much to offer. and you have done so much, you're doing so much. And so this is a topic I know that you're passionate about to share, and it's something that we do need to talk about. So when you talk about the stages of grief, first of all, how many stages are there?
Well, traditionally we look at Kubler-Ross, who did stage 5 stages, and that was a long time ago. So we are now expanding that a little bit. But her 5 stages are very useful in talking about dementia. So, and you go in and out of stages. They're not necessarily sequential. Um, so, denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. And like if I were to talk about bargaining, I think when the dementia journey, this fits under all of those fish oils and the diet and the protocols. In a lot of ways, we are trying to slow or still the disease. And those things work for a time, but they don't do the job completely. So I think they kind of fit under the bargaining a little bit. That's one of the tougher ones. But as a caregiver myself, there's flashpoints of anger, and it's embarrassing, really, that you're angry at somebody that can't help it, right? And then we have
Dr. Kate, how important is it for caregivers to understand each stage of grief? I mean, do they need to know about each stage and what to expect, and how will that help them?
I think education is power. We see that in the sustaining self research on caregiving. That's why you and Art and Courts offer so much education. It helps me understand that when I'm angry, I am expressing grief. When I'm in denial and completely expect something to happen that cannot happen, then I know that I'm in the denial phase, and but it can change quickly. And I think it helps us not feel so much shame as caregivers. We use the term care partnering, but that word partner is very loaded. Sometimes I just want to, say that's not a term that we can use, because that's like, it's not the same kind of partnership. That's where I'm not in acceptance, right? So that's just some application. I think we don't fit in well. I know that there are widows of people with dementia that don't feel like they fit into your classic grief support groups because they've been grieving for so long.
So, in your experience, someone who's caring for someone with dementia, I mean, the dementia process can go anywhere, as you know, from 2 to 20.
This is important